You need facts, figures, scores, and scoops, and the truth.
New Audio Africa, Colin Nathan, welcome to this week's edition of, or rather episode of No Punches Pulled. Another special guest in my presence and a long time friend. We're going on 16 years in the boxing industry that we've been working side by side. We fight like brothers. We've had fallouts that last 5 minutes and we can get back to each other. Bernie Pailman, welcome to No Punches Pulled. It's an absolute pleasure having you in studio.
Colin, thanks for having me, my brother. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a long journey, especially our careers together. You are not one of those type of people in boxing where you're arrogant and you talk about your achievements. You're very kind of closed off and to yourself. Often you go to weigh-ins and you're in the corner of the room and you don't really interact. You very much, I don't want to say a loner, but you do kind of keep to yourself. And today, the reason why I wanted to bring you into the studio was to actually talk about you, embellish your career, talk about your achievements, how you got into boxing. And I think the first question that all of us want to know is like, how did this relationship with you in boxing start? Take us back.
Go back many years, Colin. Take us back to my hometown where I grew up. It's actually, if they say a Lokshan, that's where I grew up. North is a Kala Township. That's where it all started. You're speaking about don't want to be seen. I don't always want people to know me. Don't want a chip on my shoulder. I just want to be under the carpets and keep everything low down.
And your first experience in boxing, like everyone remembers that moment where they were either watching a fight or they walked into a boxing gym or they met a fighter or they went to a boxing show. What was your first boxing memory?
Do you mean boxing personally or?
No, personally, like your first boxing moment personally.
I started off at a very young age. It was about 15 years of age, where I started going to gym. Growing up in Noordwesig is like a whole lot of bullies that going on there and gangsterism and all those things. So you had to look after yourself.
I suppose the question that probably a lot of people wanting to know, that did you ever encounter Cameron Adams back in the day in the 70s and 80s?
Yes, same gym, Ellen's Boxing
really?
Club.
Wow.
Yeah, he was training there by Leslie Tangi as well. And that's where I met him. He used to give us a lift now and then home because he had a girlfriend there, Noordwesig.
Yeah, and if you read the pieces on David Isaacson, Times writer, a great boxing journalist as well, actually wrote quite extensively about Cameron Adams. And was he as crazy as what everyone made out to be?
Yes, I will say yes. Crazy as can be. Also gangsterism. And I always tried to speak to him and, he couldn't listen to no one. I was still very young at that age. He was already professional when he popped in at a gym. But the times that we have a chat is when he gave us a lift, and I'll speak to him and ask him why he's still this, why that. And he say, it's the environment.
So speaking on the environment, would it be fair to say that a lot of kids your age kind of looked up to him being a gangster?
Yeah, but this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Any Lokshan, if I have to go back, township, if I have to say it, that's where it starts. And people look up to gangsters. They don't look up to people that's going to church or people that's in the IT world. No, gangsterism is a big thing there.
Let's go back to boxing. Talk to me about your amateur experience. So you walked into the gym at the age of 14, 15. And how was that environment? Walking in as a teenager, I suppose when you're that age, you start becoming, what's the term in Afrikaans, a bit vinnig. And did boxing humble you to a point, or did you use that as a way to learn how to protect yourself and obviously maybe even use it in the street?
No, protection. That was the first thing that I was ever thinking. Wanted to become professional. Yeah, that was it. But going to boxing, it was what I wanted to do. I wanted to turn pro. But because of many reasons, I didn't.
Yeah, and I want to talk about those many reasons. So you told me a story that your grandmother saw you fighting and your nose was either broken or you got knocked out. And you came home and you obviously, your nose was still bleeding and everything. And she started crying. She said, Bernie, I don't want you to box anymore. Talk us through that moment on that experience.
Colin, this started after 7 fights. I had 2 losses, and when they broke my nose in Boksburg, I can still recall the boxing gym was called Kafunta Boxing Club in Boksburg. That's where they broke my nose. They hit me out of the ring. I think that was round 2, and my nose was broken at that point in time. I didn't know, but the blood didn't want it to stop, and I was rushed to hospital after the fight, and they checked everything and say my nose is broken. I went home, faced my granny, and that's where it started. You must leave this game. It's not for you. Do something else. But I didn't stop. I still went back to the gym, and I still sparred. I still did everything. It's just that I didn't compete anymore.
So was that the motivating factor for you not to turn professional?
No. I wanted to turn professional with
Even
my whole
with
heart.
your granny's disapproval at the sport?
I was just looking at the sport because I love it. I wanted to do it. I wanted to be there. But according to a lot of things, and she's sitting on my neck every time, she knew that I was still going to gym. But then I decided, just stay there.
A lot of people don't know this about you, Bernie, that arguably probably one of the best cutmen I've ever seen. Probably the best I've ever seen in my life. And that's obviously, we'll get to that towards the end of this interview. But a lot of people don't know that you're a paramedic. And that's maybe why you got your knack and passion for, I don't want to say a passion for blood or bleeding, but you've got a knack of fixing cuts. You are the most revered cutman currently in the country. I think, personally, in the world. Tell us how that started with the paramedics.
Paramedics started also way back. There was a club called, I have to take you back. Now you're taking me somewhere. It was at the center of Noorderzig. So there was club that was called Disco Den.
Disco Den.
Disco Den, yeah. And that's where we all went on a Friday, having nice time and everything. So, stabbing was like a usual there. It wasn't things that never happened. It happened in front of you and you could see.
When you say usual, is it like offering someone a cup of coffee?
It's like that, yeah. Maybe drinking a bottle of water even.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, but that's where it started, and all the things happened there in that Noorderzig Hall, that den, as I would say, the disco den, where the stabbings and all those things was. And there was this guys called the CBs. So they offered us courses of first aid all the time. And we were just part of it, and that's where I went.
And you were a teenager at this point?
Yeah, that was my age, at 14, 15, when we started really with this medical and all the things.
Would you consider yourself a naughty teenager growing up?
Yes and no.
Okay, go on.
As I'm saying, I don't want to be seen all the time, and
Right.
people mustn't look at me, look like I want to be somebody that I don't want to be. I always keep it also under profile. And that is it.
So fast forward to the early 2000s. That's when I first obviously met you. There was a gym in Florida, Rolf Haynes. And we'll get to that question now. Rolf Haynes had a fantastic gym in Florida in the West Rand with 3 rings. He also needed trainers. How did that relationship come about between the two of you, and how were you roped into his facility?
I was friends with El Moraes, the cruiserweight champion, and I asked him one day, where is he training? And he said, that's not his gym, but took me to Ralph's gym there in Florida, Goldman Street. And that's where I started training and started working with Ralph. But when I get to the gym, I say I knew this guy, Ralph. And we were sitting and speaking and going back to times when we met. And that's where I started working with Ralph in the gym.
So Ralph was quite notorious. I've heard stories that his gym was fantastic, but in his office he had like an escape, like a backroom door where he would, be able to just exit with very, very little trouble and just leave the facility. Can you elaborate on that? Is that true?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Ralph was one of the
We can say gangster, I suppose. Yeah.
El Pacinos, if I have to call him that one. Yeah, Ralph was one of the top guys, and he always know his way around. Even when cops walked in there, they were looking for him. There will be a burglar gate before entering to his office. In his office, he had an escape gate, where he'll go through, where he just put a picture frame in front and nobody know that he will go down into the basement and get his car out from the parking area there.
Very charismatic guy. I mean, I remember, when I started in the industry in Joburg, he was always very polite and respectful. I suppose the question we all want to ask is, do you think he's dead or is he alive? I've heard stories over the years that he's living somewhere overseas and he's still alive. Some people say, no, he's dead. What's your opinion?
No, my opinion is he's still alive. He's too shrewd. I don't think Ralph is dead. I think he's around.
And then in what point thereafter did you decide to start Westside Boxing? Because that's in Westbury, in a government-run departmental facility, you could say, which is fantastic. I mean, it's a fully equipped gym, shower facilities, a ring, bags. At what point did you feel that you wanted to start your own thing?
The time when Ralph closed his gym in Florida, everything was up for sale, and I was interested because I love the sport. The sport of boxing is something that I wanted to do for my whole life. Because I didn't turn professional, I was just thinking giving back to the community, and where I am situated in Westbury, it's tough there, and I would try to get the kids off the street and try to teach them something. There I worked with Peter Favor, Cliff Martin, and that's where we opened a gym, and we started there up till today. That's where I am.
So about those Cliff and Peter, I mean, you guys were fighting when you were kids growing up, and now to this day, you guys are still very, very tight. There's a strong bond between the three of you. Talk us through that relationship, because Peter also turned his life around. Cliffy, I've just worked, I've gone overseas with these guys, just wonderful human beings, and you go back with them maybe 30, 40 years.
Yeah, so long. But that is something for another day with me, Peter, what happened then. Not for today.
So then you started your own facility, but also you became friends with the late Nick Durant. Equally, I have to say the late Rolf Haynes back then. So moving along now to Nick Durant. Very charismatic figure for South African boxing, very bombastic and outspoken, somewhat controversial at times. Talk us through that relationship and how that started.
Me and Nick started off when I was still working with Ralph. Our friendship started there, and he asked me one day, will I want to go with him overseas? And I said to him, no, it's not a problem. But I asked him, you have all the local fights, but you want to take me overseas? And he said, no, I could see this, that you have a lot to offer. And will you join me? And I say, no, I will appreciate to go. And that's where it started with me and Nick. I did fly the world with him. I did see a lot of countries, same what I'm traveling with you now, and work with him. Nick, very professional, as you say, charismatic, big mouth. Take nothing away from him. Very professional, very professional. Yeah, I learned a lot from him as well. And that is it.
There were two key fighters that you traveled with him for. One was Takalani and Glover.
No, Takalani wasn't with him then.
Was he not with him then?
Silence Mabuza.
Silence Mabuza was one.
Uh,
But Takalani defended his IBO title, and you were there with him, with Nick.
no, the first time I went with his father, but that was through Bernie Pailman.
Okay.
When he won the title, when he won the
when
IBO
you won the
title,
IBO title.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was with his father, Stanley and Lovo. And with Nick was Silence, was Mashamaite,
Peter Mashamaiti.
was Lucky Luele, Makaringa, and all that guys that I travel with.
Who is your favorite fighter out of all those guys, and why?
My favorite fighter then was, he was unbeaten. I think he was 15-0 then, Silence Mabuza. He lost to Marquez at that point in time. We got a rematch, also a cut technical decision. And Silence Mabuza was one of the greats then.
Yeah, all-time South African
Yeah.
great fighter. Good amateur too. Bronze
Very good
medalist at the
amateur.
All-Africa Games in 97 in Johannesburg, I think it was, or 98. Then I want to talk about you in your personal training career. Your first South African champion, cruiserweight champion, Bolden Sherkani, won and beat defending champion at the time in a rematch, Marias, and there was a lot of beef between you and Earl and his late trainer Reg at the time, if I recall. Talk us through those moments, why there was beef between, is that because you were guys from the same area, or talk us through that?
As I was saying, me and Earl were very good friends for some time until I got involved in a game. Baldwin joined me, trained Baldwin. We had a few sparrings with Earl then. Earl was a champion then. Baldwin was number one, so I had to put in a challenge. And I approached them, and they said they were ready. But to each and every one that was around Earl were thinking that, why will this fight be something big to Earl, and why is he accepting it? The first fight was made at Wembley. The second one was at Sun City. That was through Golden Gloves.
Where there are 5 South African titles leading up to the big screens on Corey Sanders fighting
Exactly,
Vitaly
that's the one. That's the one, yeah.
2003.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2002. 202.
Not 2003. I'll take your bet.
Okay,
Okay.
we can
What's
go
the bet? I'll ask the producer. What's the bet? 2003. Now, how I know is because Corey knocked out Vladimir in March of 2003. 100, okay. I just bought, yeah. Goes to you.
Sure.
Okay. Anyway, go on. So, yeah, 5 South African titles. Corey is fighting Vitaly after knocking out Vladimir in March of that year, and then vacated his WBO title to fight for the vacant WBC, relinquished by Lennox Lewis, who announced his retirement after he fought Vitaly. And that was a great win for you because it was totally, if I recall that fight, it was totally one-sided. Giacani absolutely took Marias to school and took him apart in that fight. Talk us through your first that moment of you producing your first South African champion.
You know, with boxing, you have to lay low, as I was saying to you, and you mustn't always show people what efforts are you putting in. You know, people always look for downfalls and all those things. So with me, I just wanted to keep a low, having that champion of mine at that point in time. Even up till today, as you know, I don't want to be seen at a lot of things. I always try to avoid.
Yeah. Omni Audio Africa, no punches pulled. Myself, Colin Nathan, Bernie Pailman, Petros, Bernie Bernster, known as just about the best cutman South Africa has ever seen. I think South Africa has ever seen. I would compare you to, because, you know, when I got into the game, everyone spoke about the late Willie Locke and how he was such a great cutman, trainer to Gerrie Coetzee and many other great champions. How would you describe where do you put yourself as a cutman? Like, in your own opinion? And don't be humble now, because I really do think you're great.
I can't. This is for people that I work with, people that know my capabilities. I don't want that chip. I don't want it. People must tell me, listen, this is the job that you're doing, and well done. I'll be appreciative about it.
Now, I want to talk about two other fighters before we get to another two other fighters. I've got about 4 fighters I want to discuss with you. Sidney Maluleke, who I just thought when I first laid eyes on him early in his career, I thought this kid could have been really gone all the way and become world champion. He had a great chin, great technique, great punch placement, but just really couldn't put it together. What was your experience? Because he had a few trainers. What was your experience like with Sidney?
I trained Sidney.
And sorry, just to interrupt, he really did respect and listen to you.
When Sidney joined me, you know that I have a clubhouse where all my boxers are staying, and I always try to keep the team together, and that's where we built our relationship. And I always want professionalism from them as boxers, that there mustn't be arguments and all that, because they're staying in the same place and everything. Taking you back there with Sidney, SA champion, he was IBF Africa as well. Africa. Taking you back on that fight with Sidney and your boy Tlamini, you know what happened there. I'm still upset with you up till today.
We'll talk about a rivalry in a second. Talk to me about Sipho Taliwe, also product of yours from early on in his career. Took him to SA champion, took him to South African. You defended the championship several times. And also you took him to WBC international champion, beating Ngomzonke final in a fantastic win at Empress Palace. What was it like training and developing him?
Going back, Sipho, when they started at my gym, you know, these boys were chased away from other gyms. Sipho tried to join Umzi in Eastern Cape, and Umguni just said to Sipho, listen, there was never a boxer where you come from. And the boy just left crying, and when he walked into my stable, I accepted him with open hands, because I could see there is potential. Starting off working with him, he had one pair of shorts, a pair of boxing boots, and a t-shirt when he joined me. And we started off there. He became the South African champion. He became the WBC champion. And then something went sour between us after 15 years. He joined Nick after beating Umzonke. He lost to Umzonke.
In a rematch, correct?
In a rematch, yeah. But that was it. That's what you call boxing.
Yeah, if I recall,
nobody's ever loyal in this game.
I recall the first fight, Fana got dropped twice, if I recall. And it was a convincing win.
7 and 9.
Yeah. And in the rematch, Taliwe was kind of nowhere. He completely got outfoxed and outboxed by Fana, who was also a great fighter for South African boxing. Bernie, you've always had the ability, so you know, as a very strict disciplinarian, you take no bullshit. It's one of the things that I absolutely adore about you, is that you're very set in your ways, you're very systematic in your approach. But you've let fighters come in and out of your career, and I want to talk about that. Sidney Maluleke being one of them, and a fighter who I consider, if he had his head right, would have been one of the greatest African fighters of all time, Malcolm Claassen. Talk us through why you give people another chance.
Colin, I think everybody deserves another chance in life. Second chance, yes. And you know, where all these boys come from, you must know, it's not easy. Growing up there, half of these boys' families, where we start off at their families, they don't have fathers, they don't have brother figures, mother figures. They either stay with their father alone or they stay with their mother alone. So there's no other plan for them. So they double up in boxing. So that's where they want to be champions and everything. And that's why I will always give somebody a second chance.
Talk to me about your relationship with Malcolm Clausen, who to this day is still a friend of yours. I don't want to call it like a love-hate relationship, because Malcolm really did go through a lot of trainers, including myself at one stage. But talk us through his talent. Like, do you agree with me that had he kept his ground, if he was grounded more and he had his head screwed on straight, he would have been one of the all-time greats? Do you agree with that?
Yes,
Talent-wise.
I agree, 100%. Malcolm was one of the best. And I think only that what you're saying now, head is not screwed on right. Malcolm lost it on the way. Malcolm had this where his ego now and then overruns him. If I say overruns, his ego is too much. And I think he can't handle that because he's getting involved with people that he don't need to be there. So that is Malcolm Clausen for you. I mean, I won the IB over team. I won WB over team. I just think it's discipline that cost him everything.
His career, or
In his career.
In his career. His career. Yeah, unfortunately, we have to talk about, recently fought in Tanzania. I think Malcolm's like 41, 42 now, 40 maybe. And really kind of a shell of himself, lost in points to one of the Tanzanian fighters. If I recall, I don't even think he's licensed in South Africa. I think he got licensed in Tanzania. But as you said previously, that's a story for another day. It would be remiss of me not to talk about the late Ronald Malindi, former South African bantamweight champion, ABU champion, ABU SADC champion. Was in the world ratings at one stage. You took him to 18-0. But you took him right from the beginning, from the late Fred Fontaine, if I recall. Talk us through that relationship, because he passed away in a gang-related incident a couple of years ago, which obviously left the boxing community in South Africa shattered, and I know left you devastated. Talk us through that relationship when you first met Ronald and what it was like bringing him through.
Ronald Malindi started his career off with Putti at the Brixton gym. That's where he started his amateur career. Putti did bring the boy to me at my workplace and asked me, do I want this boy? And I asked, do this boy want me? And that's where it all started, that Ronald will start training with me. And the first day, he started with his shit. And I told him, listen, if you don't listen and take my rules here in this gym, because I'm the only captain on the ship. He looked at me so bad, and I went up to him and said, listen, you'll take your bag and leave. And he said to me, no, coach, please. I was just playing. I said, yeah, there's no time to play here. And then we started working seriously. If I say serious, right after that, so you know that I don't take shit. And that's where his career started off. First fight up to 18 with me. He was unbeaten then until he walked into something that everybody didn't believe today, that the boy was shot. It's hard, so it really killed me. But listen, I'm here to do a job, and we have to carry on.
I mean, Ronald was always known to clown on the ring and kind of be a temperamental fighter over the years. I mean, I remember the fights that the two of you would have, and I'd be like the bond, the glue that would, try and patch everything up and make you guys stick together. But could you see early on that he was a trouble kid?
It's not easy picking up things from anybody or any kid. You only see them in the gym. You don't know what is their behavior outside the gym and how they react when they're not with you. You only see their professionalism when they're in the gym with you. Outside of the gym is something else. But I knew there was trouble somewhere, because you could see his attitude change, his mindset changes when he comes from outside. And I was sitting him down in many a times, once, twice, and I could see this boy have a big problem. But I tried. I really tried my utmost.
Yeah. I mean, Ronald had a lot of promise and a lot of potential and future. Talk to me about the worst cut you've ever seen, that you've ever had to deal with being in the corner.
One of your boxes, Rhino Liebenberg.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the worst
Krachef,
that I've ever seen. I think...
First minute of a 12 rounder.
First minute of the 12 rounds. I think he got stitches after that. I think it was about 15, if I'm right.
Yeah, it was
That's
crazy,
one of
that
the
fight.
biggest, yeah.
If I recall that fight, in the very first 60 seconds, he got caught with the right hand, got cut.
Could put my point finger into that eye, and that's how big it was.
To just tell the listeners and the viewers that I actually didn't even go into the corner of that fight because it was just so bad. I was on the side by the ropes. And if I recall the one moment in round 5 when we were up, he said to me, "Coach, I can't see." And I started bitching to him. I was like, "Mate, you got another eye. You're winning this fight. We'll fix it afterwards." But there was also a crazy moment with cuts. I want to talk about something more lighthearted. I want to talk about our relationship. We did not like each other when we first started interacting with each other.
I still don't like you.
It's fine. You don't have to like me. I don't like you either. I love you. But we just started working together in 2009. We had a good synergy between the gyms where the fighters would interact with each other from your gym and my gym. We go to each other's gyms for sparring. Talk us through how our relationship over the years is just, I mean, maybe it's biased me saying, but I think it's grown stronger over the years.
I have to laugh about this one because we really had fight like cat and dog.
Brothers. I'd like to say like sibling rival.
Yeah, all the time. You know where it started off. It started off with your boy Bayete with Sipo Talewa getting sparring at your gym, and you feel that Bayete was something better. When I walk into your gym, there was not even a Bayete. He left you for Colin, for Nick Durant. That's something to laugh about now. Yeah. Loyalty again. Yeah. But coming back to this, me and you, I think the relationship, as you say, grows so much stronger. For the 16 years that we've been together, I think you're one of my besties.
Yeah, you're definitely one of my besties. I mean, we've been in some sticky moments together. We do fight like siblings, like brothers. But also I want to talk about the one moment. There have been some crazy moments where actually, I hope no Japanese people are going to be watching this interview, but one of the coordinators in a recent trip, took us to the airport. True story, guys. And was saying, thanks for everything in broken English. And Bernie high-fived him. And as you high-fived him, you said to him, "Futsek P." And he didn't understand. He says, "Thank you very much." Talk to us about you often being the jester in some moments when things are not going away. Your personality, where do you get that from? Because you're a funny guy, and the issue with you is that you've got such a monotone face, is that guys don't actually know that you're joking. Sometimes you're not joking, but you are bloody funny, mate.
Yeah, but it's only that you know me, so you will see the funniness. You know when I'm serious. You know everything about me. So for other people looking at me, they mustn't know what am I up for. Must be a surprise for them.
I want to talk about when Heikki Butler, we all went to the Philippines, Cebu, 2017. Heikki Butler got a horrendous decision against Milan Melindo. And we were in the ring, and we just couldn't believe what we were hearing. We lost the split decision. There were 4,000 Filipinos in the crowd, and the next thing you shouted, "You're all a bunch of effing cheats." And the next thing, we literally had to get security ushering us out from the corner to the dressing room. Why did you let loose like that?
Colin, this sport must be honest. And when people don't have that honesty, it's a tough one. Even if you know how hard we prepared, we're coming from so far, fight there in their hometown, and you're not getting a decision. It's not easy accepting things like that, and that's where you just take the cat out of the bag and just let it go.
Yeah, and wear your heart on your sleeve. And I think that's one of why people are so endeared to you, is that you do wear your heart on your sleeve, and you're not shy to open your mouth. I want to talk about your personal best moment in your career. What would it be?
If you say my personal best
Your personal, yeah.
With you?
No,
By
that's
myself?
by yourself. The next question's with us. By yourself.
No, let's leave that for another day.
Okay, and with us on our travels together?
I always have the best time with you.
What would be the highlight moment?
The highlight moment, when I was in my room and you knocked at the door and I said, I don't want to speak to you. I wanted to fuck you up that day. That's how serious it was.
What moment stands out in terms of the wins? The Heikki Butler Taguchi win or the Kafu Tanaka win? Because those are right up there.
Both. That was like moments that I really feel that all the hard work was put in.
Against all the odds as well.
Against the odds, yes, 100%. That's why I feel the hard work was put in, and that's what we got out of it. That wins.
You're a young trainer, manager still, and a lot to offer the market here in South African boxing. What dreams and aspirations do you still have in the game?
Colin, I will go as far as I can because there's a lot of boys outside that needs us. I won't say myself for each and every trainer where they can help boys, getting them off the street and training them and turning them pro, or if they're pro already, just to help and assist them. That's again where it comes. Everybody deserves a chance, and I think we must give it. Whatever we can still put in, give it to them.
Bernie Pailman, thank you very, very much for your time, for joining us here on Omni Audio Africa. Colin Nathan's No Punches Pulled. We'll see you again next week.
Our daily opinion on sport.